Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Uh, Decided to do another mystery movie again. I skipped out on the last one just because the last two films were just fairly stinky. And I heard the last one wasn't as good either. It was a Mafia Mama, so I didn't really miss out on much. Thankfully, I went out this time because I actually saw a film that I was particularly interested in seeing. That film being Sisu, directed by Jalmeric Herlander. I did not look up that name just now, I swear. I did. Um, Produced by the people who gave you John Wick, which we'll address in a second. Um, and basically, set in World War II, Nazis are all over the place, and this man is just done with war. He doesn't want to do anything with war. Finds a bunch of gold, wants to cash in, and he has to go shoot up a bunch of Nazis in order to get his pay. That's basically in a nutshell the film, and um, it's about just a person trying to cash in. Really, I mean, it doesn't really have much of a thematic purpose, really, and to an extent, it actually by a certain point, it really, really doesn't have a purpose really at all. Um, if you were to remove like the final act, I would actually say it's okay because it to that measure to that point it actually felt like it had some merit going on. I mean, visually it has stuff going on. I think that visually it's probably the most interesting point of the film, and I like that it is a very minimal um, dialogue film. There's not a lot of dialogue being taken or taking place. So, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that it's a very visually driven type film. Um, what I was just really struck by, and I just can't get over it because you can see how just flustered I am, is the level of absurdity that the film takes. Now, the reason why I bring up John Wick is because, well, obviously, when you see the film and you see how it plays out, it obviously owes a great deal to John Wick, and and I obviously it will be compared to such because of how it moves and the action and just the absurdities might be equated to John Wick. I would disagree entirely with that notion, though, because I think that John Wick actually is much more tame than what Shishu is. It's much more splashy than John Wick is, but also just just stupid. I mean, it's like John Wick. The thing that I like about John Wick is that when it does get absurd, it's absurd for a reason, and it also feels sensible. There's a reason. It makes sense why it gets to these points. When like there gets a point, and this is an older guy. Remember, he at one point like he's throwing like mines. Somehow he doesn't blow up himself when he picks up the mine, and then he then hijacks a plane. The plane crashes, and somehow he's not blown to bits, and he's being shot at by a tank, and somehow he doesn't get blown to bits, even though the bullets are quite literally hitting him. Like, like the level of absurdity that happens in the film is just it gets to not it's past John Wick levels. It's like Fast and Furious at one point with that plane sequence. It just gets so ridiculous to the point where believability is just it's just like just diminishing by each scene. Like I just could not find myself engaged and at that by that point. I know some people might take the latter on that and say that, or might take the opposite in that and say that, well, it actually is just one of those like turn off your brain type films. Like if I were to compare it to anything, it's the film that immediately came to mind was the film Revenge. I don't know if anyone remembers the film Revenge, which came out in it was like 2018. It's one of these films where you are either in or out. That's just the type of film it is. It's that once it gets going and you understand that, like it's like at one point they say that he immortal? No, but he just doesn't want to die. That stupid cliche type line. But Revenge is very similar to this, where there's a point where the absurdity occurs, and at that point you have to make that decision as the viewer if you are invested or if you are not. Like if you can take this seriously or not. So, and the point where Shishu does that, I was fine with it because I'm I that it was expected, based on how everything was setting up. I was like, okay, I can go with this. But it's just the progression of this absurdity, it just gets too much, and I just find myself just questioning everything. Like it's not about like just like I'm not like laughing at it or anything. Like everything that happens, like there's a point where he gets hanged as well, and you're asking yourself, how does he survive that? And then there's a plane crash, and you're like, how does he survive that? And then um, like I said, he gets shot up by a tank, and you're like, how does he survive that? Like, and then the other thing, like the difference between this, basically between John Wick and Sisu, is that, well, the dog survives first of all, and um, and that it's in a different setting. And also, as I said, the absurdities are just dialed to 11 with this one. Like it's like as if the filmmakers just said, "Hey, let's just do something crazy, not something that makes any real sense, but something that's just crazy." And um, for me, I just found it just, I wouldn't say irritating or annoying, but just ridiculous. Like I think that the believability of it just, like each scene, it just weared on me. I just lost my patience by when we got to that plane crash, because I was just like, okay, this is like, you have now crossed the line of where I can believe this sort of thing, because up to that point I was giving like considerations. I was like, okay, I can kind of give past that. I can give past that. But then we get to this plane sequence, and then, like I said, it's basically just like Fast and Furious, where he's hanging off the side of a plane, and somehow he gets on the plane, and then he gets beaten to a bloody pulp, and somehow is not unconscious, because they make the point that he's just a regular man, um, and um, again, an older man at that. So, like, Sishu is not the title of the film. What it should have been called is Superman versus the Nazis, because that's basically what it is. It's basically a Superman story, because the guy survives everything, literally a plane crash, and like the level of stupid is, it, it's humorous, but not in the, like, in the way where it's fun and entertaining. It's more in the just just like 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 where it's just like, what, like that kind of response, like I appreciate its aesthetics, and I appreciate its, attitude. Like, I like that it chooses to be very minimal with its dialogue, but it's just the constant um levels just the progression of itself, and just the level of stupidity that just keeps on moving up. And I just I mean, yeah. I really, I lost my patience by the time we got to that plane scene, because it that's where it just crossed the line for me, because I was just like, okay, now it really now makes no sense whatsoever, because I have literally no idea what the character is. Then my only answer could be that it's Superman. Like, that's really the only real way that it would make tangible sense, because it just doesn't, you know. And it like I said, it's a film very much so like Revenge, where you are either in or out. The difference with Revenge is that the very absurd part, the most absurd thing about that film, happens very early on, and I'm able to digest that, and I'm able to process that throughout the whole film. With Shishu, it's a film that just progressively and progressively and progressively gets more and more absurd, to the point where you don't have any time to digest it. You're just sitting there, just asking yourself, like, how is everything happening, and how is he able to survive that? How the hell did he get up there, and how did he do this and stuff like that? Like, that's what you're doing for a lot of the time with this film. You're just asking yourself, how did he do that? Like, they don't give explanation or understanding of things. It's just, it starts off, I would say, fairly tame. Like, it's in the same levels of what John Wick does, and then it ends basically with basically with like Fast and Furious type of stuff. And like I would say like a good half of it I was fine with. I wasn't completely invested though because of just the lack of characterization and developments. Um, but again, it interesting enough. And then all this stuff happens, and I'm just like, you know what, just like that's kind of what I did by a certain point. I just started just breathing really heavily because I was just like, okay, okay, let's okay. Like it just gets too much, and I just find myself just tired, not entertained, just tired, and just like why did we have to get to those points? Why? So so yeah, it has merit at the start, but then it just becomes really stupid. So you know, it's I I would have said if the film had like if the film was what it was at the start as the whole film, like if that was just the way it was, then I actually would say it's okay because it's for the first half of it, it's splashy, it's bloody, but it makes sense, you know. There are some liberties, but it's like it again, like similar to what I said with John Wick. There is a believability at the center of it, you know. But it just gets to places where you lose your patience and you just have little care for what is happening on screen, and it's just like I was almost waiting for Vin Diesel to show up. Like that's just how absurd things got. So, and not absurd in a good way, but absurd in the what the hell is going on sort of thing. So, or in the kind of way. So, so yeah, that's my thoughts on Sisu. I almost forgot the title. Superman versus the Nazis. That's the title for the film. Superman versus the Nazis, or Old Man Superman. Um, because I mean that's my only explanation for for why he's able to survive all the things and how everything is the way it is. And it doesn't have a plot really either. And um, like it's like I said, it's just about a guy just getting his pay. Like it's just I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't have much going on. And believe me, I wanted to like have fun with it, like because I wanted to fall into this whole absurd sort of thing. But I just with Revenge, I was in because of when chose to do the most absurd thing. With Shishu, it just it chose to do the most absurd thing at the end versus doing such a thing at the beginning. And I wish that it was like I wish that they had done that versus progressively getting more and more stupid because it doesn't make it fun. It just makes it um, more in some ways more boring and just tiresome. I mean, really, that's the feeling I got from it. I was just tired and just kind of just like you know um, kind of a bit flabbergasted in some regards because of just how absurd it gets. So so that's my thoughts on Shishu. I mean, if you're in for something nonsensical, I mean, I guess Shishu might be up your alley. But you guys let me know your thoughts on Shishu if you guys have seen it. Did you guys like it? Did you guys not like it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this review, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next video.